to do that. And so, again, just a reminder, as you come in to any of our Zoom meetings, we ask that you mute as you come in. We also ask that you have your full name, possibly your pronouns, and your concentration in your name as well. That's really helpful and helps people get to know each other. And then what I'd like for you to do is find the chat. For most of you, it's going to be at the bottom. Hit the chat button, and it's going to pull up a chat where you can leave messages. And I'd like for you to maybe tell us where you are in the world. So what is your location, where you currently are, so that people can see how wide and far and diverse our group is. I'm in the Berg, Williamsburg. I will put Williamsburg. Great. Lots of people from lots of different places. Parking lot, I like that one. That was my favorite, parking lot. All right, good. Okay, thank you for participating. We're just excited to see where everybody's from. Chapel Hill, Taryn, I just moved from Raleigh, Durham. I lived there for 20 years and just moved to the Berg. So back home, because I'm originally from Chesapeake, so from Great Bridge, Chesapeake, that's my home. So, all right, welcome. Okay, so thank you. And again, if you don't have both your names on your profile, we do at least ask that we have both the names. That would be helpful so we know who's here. You can rename yourself by clicking on your picture, and there are 3 dots, and you can click on those 3 dots, and it will tell you how to rename yourself. You can rename yourself there. So I basically run the program. I don't actually do all the work, though. I have a wonderful team that works with us. So I am going to introduce the other faculty virtually by pictures and tell you a little bit about them in a minute, but I'm going to turn it over to Dr. SGS, who will have to leave us before the end of the program because she is teaching a class tonight. So she can introduce herself and tell us a little bit about fieldwork while I pull up the program office to share later.
Hello and welcome, everyone. We're so happy to see so many of our students and prospective students here. So thank you so much for being here tonight. I'm Dr. Noelle St. Germain Sayre. The students call me Dr. SGS, and I am the fieldwork coordinator. My actual title is Counseling Clinical Experience Director, and my responsibilities basically involve assisting students with all the aspects of fieldwork. So in this program, when you get to the final year of your program, you're actually going to be engaged in counseling at a clinical mental health site or a school counseling site based on your concentration. And with the military veterans folks, you'll be doing some of your field work with military veterans populations and military connected families. So basically, the students in the program will, you do your coursework, and when you get near the end, you do 100 hours in your practicum at a field site, and you do 300 hours in 2 different semesters of internship, so a 600-hour internship. I know Dr. LA is going to give you kind of an overview and talk a little bit more, but basically that's my role here. I do teach classes as well, but I help with all aspects of the program and try to help Dr. LA with as many things as possible. So that's me. And unfortunately, I have to go teach internship tonight. So fortunately for my internship students, but unfortunately I can't be here for the remainder with you guys. But I will stay for as long as I can, which will be about another 20 minutes or so.
Okay. All right. And I can answer a lot of the questions that Dr. SGS would also be able to answer. And then I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and I'm going to start sharing some resources with you. So once you get into Canvas, which really won't happen until right before the fall term starts, you will get a dashboard. And that dashboard is going to look a little bit like this. This is called Canvas. Some of you may have already had experience in Canvas. We actually have a super amazing Canvas called EverCourse that really is a lot of bells and whistles and makes us able to do a lot of really cool things in our classes to help you learn the material. But this is what our Canvas dashboard would look like. And one of the major tools that you're going to have throughout your journey at William & Mary is our program office. And our program office is our one-stop hub for information. So it's going to be the one place you're going to want to make sure you accept that invitation. As soon as you get into Canvas, you'll have all of these invitations to your classes, to the hub. Make sure you accept that one, because this is where you're going to find a ton of information about the program. So I'm just going to give you a brief orientation. You'll get another orientation once you start the program, but this will just give you a brief overview. So can everybody see the hub, see the program office? Okay, great. So one of the first things that's really helpful is, of course, meeting your faculty. And Dr. Harris has two very young children and was unable to join us tonight. She is shuffling children who refuse to take a nap this afternoon. And so she is juggling them. And this is Dr. Harris. She's actually our lead school counseling person and is just an amazing faculty member, teaches a lot of our school counseling classes, our internship for school counseling, and helps at all the residencies. And then we also have Dr. Jessica Martin. Dr. Jessica Martin is our CMHC lead and is just a powerhouse, amazing powerhouse. Does a tremendous amount of work. All of us work in social justice in different ways, but I definitely think of social justice being synonymous with Jessica Martin. And so you can see, you can get contact information, schedule meetings, learn a little bit about us, like what we do, our conferences, our interests, and things like that. And next week, we have two new core faculty members joining us. One has been an adjunct with us for a while, Dr. Danita Hudson, amazing. I worked with her at another university, and she is very student-centered. And then Dr. Kerala Solomon, who will also be joining us next week full-time. And so we're super excited that the online faculty is expanding. This is by no means the breadth of all the faculty. We also have an amazing team of on-ground faculty who often will help with the online program as well. So you'll see many of them in videos and during meetings and presentations and residency. So there's a team of, what, we're up to 16 now, I think?
Yeah, with the last 2, I think that brings us to 16.
Yeah, 16 core faculty members. So, and all of us are well known in the field. All of us have leadership roles in the field, practice and engage in social justice. So take some time to learn about us. You can also explore our faculty profiles on the William & Mary website, so you can get to know your faculty. One of the things that we try to do as an online program is to not feel like an online program. So like when we're in meetings, we ask you to turn your videos on. We want to see you. We'll get excited when you have kids, when you get married, when you have a new job. And, you know, we like to hear about you and get to know you. I just actually had office hours for from 4 to 6. And I had several students pop by. One came by and wanted to staff some clinical cases. One came by and wanted to talk about how to talk to a professor about an issue she was having with the class. So we try to be really approachable and available to you through office hours and meetings like this, so that you can feel like we're here and we want to support you. So don't feel like you have to be a stranger or do things in isolation. We're here to support you. That's what our goal is. And so modules. This is all your classes are organized like this. All of them are going to have this type of information. You will have a module 0 where you get to know about the class, you get to meet the lead instructor, meet your course instructor, learn a little bit about them. And then unlike other classes, usually you have a module 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 that align with each week. Now, because we're an accelerated online program, every module is 1 week in our world, but 2 weeks worth of work. So you need to be prepared for that. We are an accelerated program. You're doing the course in half the time that it usually happens. So one of the biggest suggestions that I can make for you is get organized and stay organized. Most of your discussions are going to be due on Wednesdays, and most of your responses will be due by Friday. So when you do a discussion, you'll be giving a response, which will include citations and reflect your readings of the material. And then you're going to also have to respond to usually 2 peers. It varies from class to class, but usually that's the standard. And then that conversation can continue into the weekend as well. And you should respond. When people write responses to you, you should write a response back. So the discussions are a primary tool. We do also offer, however, in most of our classes, a live discussion option. So what that means is your faculty member in a lot of classes, if there's a discussion, there'll be an opportunity to join a live discussion instead of doing the written discussion. Now, for classes where there's more than one section, it might be that, Dr. Harris does a live discussion for all the sections this week, and I do a live discussion next week for all the sections, and then Dr. SGS does a live discussion. So it's not always necessarily going to be your instructor, but you still get credit for being there instead of having to do the written. This is a great way to build community. It's a really good way to get to know your faculty and to wonder and ask questions. Like, for example, in my research class, when I teach research, when we do the ethics module, I play one of my favorite games, and that is that whoever comes to that live discussion, we break up into teams, and each team is responsible for developing the most unethical research project they can come up with. And let me tell you, they've come up with some doozies. And then they get to vote on who had the worst research project. So it's just a way to reinforce the material, reinforce the content in a fun way, and really helps people really solidify their understanding of research ethics. So that's an example of a live discussion. Now, when you get to your practicum and your internship, you're going to actually have live classes. You will have synchronous classes that you will have to attend. We do publish the day and time when we have the registration published. So you'll be able to choose based off your, if you're CMHC, MDC, school counseling, you'll be able to see, okay, I can do my practicum or internship during these times. Some faculty do it 1.5 hours or 2 hours, actually, I think now at Dr. SGS, right? 2 hours every week or 3 hours every other week. So you get to choose which model you want, but you do have to attend those to be able to pass in field work, an internship. It's a required component. So that is the only class besides residency that requires that you attend a certain time. And we do publish those times so you can plan accordingly. Now, residencies is another huge component of our program. With your cohort, you will take residency 1 with your techniques class, and you will take residency 2 with your group counseling class. Usually you're taking techniques sometime in your first year, and you're taking group counseling in your second year. So it's about a year apart if things work out the way they're supposed to. But sometimes people have to take leave, you've got to take breaks, and we totally have accommodations for that. And sometimes people are in financial situations with, say, the military, where they're time limited on their funding, and we work with them to try to come up with the most efficient program of study to help maximize the use of those funds. So your faculty advisor can help you with those things. So in the program office, we have a ton of information about a lot of things: advising, community, curriculum, all sorts of things. Lots of fieldwork goodies, policies, procedures, residency tips, social justice, you name it. There's so much information here. So let's go and look at the PowerPoint, and we'll get through some of these. All right. So just to make sure I stay on track, we've already done this. There we go. So we've talked a little bit about the program office and it being the hub of information. When you get into Canvas, one of the first things you're going to want to do is make sure in your Canvas settings that you set it so that you get notifications for the announcements. There's a whole long list. When you get in Canvas, you'll see the settings feature. You click on the settings and it'll say notifications. And you can turn on and off notifications. You really want to make sure the announcement notification is on for all your classes and for the program office. We post a lot of really good information about funding opportunities, social justice opportunities, course opportunities, advising opportunities, upcoming events, you name it, but it's a really good place. You can set that announcement notification to daily or to once a week. I will say if you do once a week, you could miss an opportunity because sometimes we post things last minute, but that certainly is a less overwhelming than saying getting multiple announcements per day. All right, so those are some important things. This is what the program office looks like and Canvas looks like. This is, the account is where you can set your settings. You can also do it over here, course notifications. You will need to use your William & Mary. We are not supposed to communicate with you once you have your William & Mary account established. We're not supposed to communicate with you about anything related to your graduate program through any email other than your William & Mary email. The reason being, FERPA. we have to ensure that we are communicating with you, and you shouldn't be sharing your password and your login with anybody other than yourself. So when I communicate with you by your email that's assigned to you by William and Mary, I'm assuming you're the only one reading it. So it's secure and it's encrypted. If you're using Gmail or Yahoo or whatever, I don't know that it's secure, right? And somebody else could be accessing that email legally or not. And so we want to make sure that we're communicating with you in a secure way. So therefore, all graduate school related communication should be through your William and Mary email. Some faculty use Canvas messaging, which is another option. It's not my favorite, but some people do it. I prefer email, but that's just my preference. Okay. All right. And then we do ask that you keep up with the calendar. When you go into the program office, there's a calendar in the bottom right, and that's where we will publicize events. So like advising opportunities, town halls, starts of the term, end of the ad drop. I put all of those things in the calendar each term so that they're in there. We also have these really cool opportunities of skills labs and case presentations. They happen every semester except for summer, because the faculty do take a little break during summer. But we try to offer those 2 or 3 times every semester, or every term actually. And those are opportunities to start practicing your skills. Now, some of you that are starting the program in fall might be like, I don't know anything. Why would I come to that? But you want to get started as soon as you can. Okay, I hear consistently from the students who come to residency, they were so glad that they came to the skills labs because they were really well prepared for residency, or they wish they had come to skills labs so they were better prepared for residency. So I will say, keep an eye out for skills labs and for the case presentations. I facilitate and run the skills labs, and Dr. SGS runs the case presentations. So those are great opportunities to really practice and get your skills, clinical skills, really firm. We also have town halls. We have those every term, usually in the 3rd or 4th week. That is when the students all come across together. We have a huge turnout for that every term. We also record them. We have one in the afternoon, in the evening, and one in the morning, because we know we have people across multiple time zones. I think 8 last time I looked. And so that we try to make sure that these opportunities are, same thing with skills labs and case presentations. We rotate the time to try to make it accessible to people. But the town halls, we'll have student panels, we'll have guest speakers. We also are looking at starting a seminar series in the fall where we're going to bring in people on special topics like trauma. I actually talked to a group today who's going to come in and talk about cyber racism and cyber hate and how that's being perpetuated in the world. And they're going to be doing a 2-hour presentation for us in the fall on that topic, which will be kind of interesting because I think every counselor deals with people dealing with issues within social media and the cyber world. So it's a big issue. Focus on personal wellness. We say it over and over and over. Self-wellness, self-care. We want you to practice that, and we'll remind you of that and try to facilitate that and role model that as well. Support services, we'll talk about some more, but there's a lot of resources that can actually be a little overwhelming. And then using faculty office hours. All of your faculty have office hours, and we encourage you to use them. Mine are Mondays and Wednesdays from 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern. I sit in my Zoom room, and I wait for people to come say hi to me. And I actually have a pretty busy queue most of the time. So you are welcome to drop by there even before you start if you have questions. And if you email me, I can tell you more about how to reach us during that time. But that is something that we definitely like to have used are our office hours. I know that Dr. SGS and I both sit in Zoom and wait. Some faculty have you contact them and they'll then jump into Zoom. So, and Dr. SGS, if at any point you want to say more, you can say so. We're going to talk about the transfer credit policy in a second. We do have a master book list. Not all of our courses have books, textbooks. We are trying to actually phase out textbooks as a social justice issue because they're so darn expensive. And we're trying to move away from them, but some of our courses still do have textbooks. Residency, as I mentioned, will be tied to your techniques class and your group class. It is currently a virtual experience thanks to COVID-19, but we are hoping to move to a hybrid and then back in person. We had targeted spring 22, but with the increases in the Delta variant, we're not sure if that's a realistic goal, and we may have to push it back to the fall of 2022. But we are optimistic that maybe we'll get this thing under control sometime, right? We do have a professional performance review that happens on students that is usually tied to your residencies and your practicum and internships, but that's where we say, hey, are you achieving the skills and the things that we need you to be doing to be able to be successful as a professional counselor? And if not, we try to remediate with you and give you support and extra remediation. And, you know, if you're doing great, we say, hey, you're doing great. Keep up the good work and move on. So we try to give you both positive and constructive feedback. And then live text. When you first start with the program, you will get an email. It's your William and Mary email, but it's about, what, week 3 or so usually, I think, Dr. SGS?
I believe it starts there, and then they will get reminders if they don't sign up when they first get it. But yeah, sign up when you get it.
Yeah, sign up when you get it, because if you don't sign up when you get it, when you get to field work, you will have to pay $100 to get live text. So don't, you know, if you accept the invitation, you won't have to pay. It's already included. But if you miss the invitation and we have to get a new license for you, you will have to pay for that. So please be sure that when you get your live text invitation that you accept it, so that you don't have to pay that extra money. You're already paying enough. You don't need to pay more. All right. Now, who do you contact for what? So you have an advisor, a faculty advisor. If you're MVC, that's me. Hi, Dr. Stretch. I love military veterans. I was a military spouse forever, and I'm currently partnered with somebody in the military who just gets out in October. So I am a big military veterans person. And then for clinical mental health, Dr. SDS and Dr. Martin share those responsibilities. I can never remember which part of the alphabet you have. Do you remember?
Dr. Martin has A through L, and I have M through Z.
Thank you. So you think I would know since I created it, but so there, the CMHC is split between them, and then school counseling right now is with Dr. Harris. We may have some shifts in that with the addition of Dr. Hudson and Dr. Solomon, but that will happen once you get here. We're probably gonna. We've had 2 faculty members retire, so they're going to be absorbing their advising load too. So it'll be a little bit of a split, but for now, that's how it's done. We also have David Teigman, who is a great support for us. He's our student support coordinator, and you can reach out to David for logistical issues like, where do I find this? How do I register for this? Who do I call for this? That's what David's there to help with. And then there's me again. I'm the coordinator, so you can always reach out to me. If I don't know an answer, I can usually come up with who does. And then your clinical experience director, of course, is Dr. St. Germain Serre. And then the registrar is another really amazing resource that I probably talk to on an hourly basis. And they handle everything from transcripts to transfers, enrollment, degree verifications. You'll get to know Dot, Tammy, and Haley very well. They're an amazing team and support us incredibly. There's a handbook. This is last year's handbook. Dr. Mullen and I are in the process of updating the handbook for this coming year, but this one will still be very close to it. We're just kind of reorganizing it and making it a little bit nicer. And then course advising. When you get the access to the program office, you will want to explore the advising page. The advising page will tell you kind of what to expect and where to go. All new students, doesn't matter what concentration you're in, you are going to take professional orientation. That is your first course. That is the course that all new students take, C42, right? No, that's a practicum. Is that right? It's been a long day.
No, C42 is practicum. You're talking about
C46.
C46. C46 or C43?
She will look it up and she will let us know.
I will. I'm looking it up right now.
And we had residency last week and our brains are fried. Okay. So everybody will take professional orientation.
C43.
C43. What's their second course for this cohort? Can you look
C32. Oh, for this cohort?
Okay, so yeah, for this cohort.
Hang on. Oh, master.
It might be theories.
I'm looking. I'd wager a bet that it's
So
theory.
we have this wonderful little chart that will tell you exactly what to take based on your
It's theories.
concentration. Theories. Okay. So your first course is going to be C43, which is professional orientation, and your second course will be C32, which is your counseling theories class. All right. So everybody takes the same two classes, no matter what their concentration is. Those are our primary courses. If you do exceptionally well and get an A, high A, strong A in your professional orientation, and you're interested in taking more than one class, you can talk to your faculty advisor about adjusting your program of study, okay? But we don't recommend that if you are working full time, if you're caring for children, if you're trying to manage the baseball travel team and take classes, okay? We recommend that for people who might have the benefit of not needing to work and maybe have limited funding, that they're working with the military or something. That is not the standard. That is something we only encourage for people who are in special circumstances. If you're trying to work full time, be a family member, have a friendship, have somewhat of a social life, maybe even still practice yoga, you will not want to double up, okay? So it's not something we recommend because it's already accelerated. Dr. SGS?
I was just going to say, I've got to drop out to go to class, but it was wonderful to be here, and I will see you soon, I hope.
Yay. Now, I will take one thing back on the double up. We do have you double up a couple of terms right while you're taking practicum and internship. If that is going to be very difficult for you, you can work with your faculty advisor, and we will have you double up ahead of time. If you're going to be counting on financial aid of any sort, you will have to take at least one other course with your fieldwork courses to get the 4 credit minimum. So I just want people to have that on their radar and be thinking about that. So for when you take practicum, it's 3 credits across 2 terms. So it's a semester long class. Internship 1 is a semester long class. Internship 2 is a semester long class. So all your other classes are 7.5 weeks. When you get to field work, they become 15-week classes, and you have to have at least one other class taken concurrently to meet financial aid minimum credit requirements. All right, so just know that as you're thinking about that. You will be traveling through your program of study as a cohort. Sometimes you'll be in concentration-specific classes, and sometimes you'll be in your everybody's classes. I really like the mixed classes. I love teaching the classes with multiple cohorts or concentrations because we can hear and see it from different perspectives and angles. That was one of the things our students actually noted last week about our residency as a strength, was they liked the mixed cohort. And then we also had concentration mixed and then just concentration specific sessions, and they liked having that blend because they liked there was pros and cons, of course, to both. Now, some of you may have already taken graduate courses, and you might be interested in transferring those. There's one little limitation that I have to tell you about that usually makes people pout, and that is that if you received a master's degree, a graduate degree, as a result of those courses, we cannot transfer it in. You can't count it twice. Okay, if you just took graduate courses in another CACREP accredited program and you didn't finish that program, I'm happy to consider it. You would fill out the transcript, you would send that transcript request to me as a coordinator, I would pre-screen it, and then I would send it through the registrar and get all the signatures. Don't send it to the registrar until I've pre-screened it because I could save you a lot of time and a little bit of money. Okay, so send it to me to preview first. There's a maximum of 12 credits that you can transfer, and it must be from a CACREP accredited program. We cannot accept any classes from non-CACREP accredited. For those of you who may not know, CACREP is the Council for Accreditation of Counseling-Related Education Programs. You get a PhD just for knowing that one. And then you will be able to transfer in CACREP program courses. And as long as you get a B or higher, and it's been within, I think it is 4 years. Yes, 4 years. So it's got to be within 4 years since you took the course. Okay, so that is a transfer policy. You're going to get to know degree works pretty well when you get in here. That's where your program of study will be entered. Some of you may have dealt with that already in a previous degree. But degree works is where you'll set up your program of study, your faculty advisor, and David can help with that. Depending, if you come in on the fall cohort, there's literally a template. You click on fall cohort and it already knows your concentration and it populates what it thinks you need, and then you get to put it in the semesters. You'll use the master course of study where it shows you what classes are offered when to help you figure out what to do. But we also offer advisory sessions to help with that. Okay, and Q&A. So I have talked a lot, and so now I open it up to questions. There is a feature in Zoom where you can raise your hand. I think I don't remember how to do that. I think you just click on your picture and raise your hand. But if you have a question, I'm going to stop sharing so I can see more of you. Maybe. There we go. See. So who has a question? Oh, Melissa. Please tell us what your question is.
Okay. Hi, it's Melissa. A little different than Melissa, but hi.
Nice to meet you, Melissa.
Nice to meet you too. You're recording this, right? Will you be posting this where we can see it?
Yes,
again?
We have a YouTube channel. Yes, we have a YouTube channel on the William & Mary online counseling program. You can look us up on YouTube, but I will also ask David and them to send it out as the YouTube link.
Thank you.
Morgan, hello again.
Hello. I was wondering if you could maybe go into the broad differences between the residency, the internship, and the practicum.
Absolutely. Great question. Okay. So you have two residencies, right? And so residency 1 is paired with your techniques class, C33. And what will happen during that residency, we literally just had residency last week, so I know because I taught Res 1. So with Res 1, it's really focused on your basic skills. There's going to be a lot of time that you're actually in what we call skills lab, where you're with, say, 2 or 3 of your peers and you're practicing specific skills. Like one of the labs, we say, okay, you need to counsel Leonardo and you can't use questions. Questions aren't allowed. And you really have to focus on your reflection skills, right? And then another one, we talk about culture and how do you broach culture and how do you talk about culture in a session? And that's really mostly day 2 and day 3. And day 1, we have a lot of icebreakers, trying to get you comfortable, trying to get some of the anxiety out of you, getting to know people in your lab. And we have a big keynote speaker, usually a national level speaker that we bring in on a certain topic. On Thursday, the last day, we have social justice panel where we bring in amazing social justice advocates from around the country, usually across different concentrations. They have a panel, and then we spend an hour in small breakout groups with one faculty with a group of students, and we talk about how we're engaging in social justice and how we might want to engage in social justice and start to share resources and ideas. Then we do a suicidal and homicidal practice where in Res 1, you're addressing risk. And then we do a case conceptualization theory mock-up in the afternoon where you learn how to use theory to conceptualize a case. In Res 2, it's very similar, except instead of focusing on individual skills, you're focusing on group counseling skills because it is paired with your group counseling class. And KCREP requires that you have group experience while you're in our program and as a member of a group and as a facilitator of the group. So you get to play both roles. So when you were in individual labs in Res 1, you're doing group processing, most of it in Res 2. There is some individual skills practice as well, but all the rest of it's the same except in the suicide, instead of just addressing risk, you're assessing risk. So you're learning how to use the tools to assess risk. So residencies, boom, boom, go through those. They're 4 days. Like I said, we're hoping to get back to in-person sooner than later, but we'll have to see what COVID wants to do. And then practicum, you have 100 hours of clinical experience that you have to do in an agency. You find the agency, but Dr. SGS works really closely with you. to help you build that relationship and figure out, you know, if it's a good contact. She makes the actual arrangements with the site after if you've been interviewed and accepted. You really don't move on anything practicum unless you have SGS's blessing. She is like the keeper of all things field work. And she also has a tremendous network worldwide where she can help connect. Now, one of the things that we started, I joined William & Mary in May of 2020 as a coordinator. And one of the reasons they brought me in is I'm an expert in telehealth, and they wanted to create a telehealth component. And so we actually launched the telehealth clinic with the Fletcher Center as of last January. So there's now also a telehealth option for students to apply for practicum. And you can do part of your internship there. You cannot do all of your internship there because we do need you to have some on-ground experience as well. So we do require a little bit of your time be on ground. Practicum, 100 hours. You're meeting with your site supervisor every week for an hour. And you're meeting with your class either every week or every other week for that 2-hour or 3-hour component that I mentioned before, right? The synchronous time. You have a little bit of coursework, but it's mostly like reflections and time logs and evaluations and things like that. There's just a little bit of work in the class, not as heavy as some of your other classes. Internships, you have 300 hours in internship 1 and 300 hours in internship 2 that you need to get a clinical experience. You need to get 25% of those hours need to be with your concentration. So if you're CMHC, it needs to be about individual, group, couples counseling. If you're MBC, it needs to have something to do with the military or veterans, which is not usually hard to get. And school counselors have a little bit different situation with their internship. If you're in the school counseling program, you do one rotation, either your practicum, internship 1, internship 2, in elementary, 1 in middle school, and 1 in high school. So you're rotating every term or every semester of field work, which is a really incredible experience to get experience at all 3 levels of education. It does need to be in a public school, and it must be during the actual year. It can't be like during summer school. So we don't usually run internship for school counselors in the summer. If you're in a community that has year-round programs, though, that can get approved for you to be in the summer internship. Okay? And so internship 1 and internship 2 really aren't that different, Morgan, in the sense they're just split in half because most people can't get too many more hours than that in that time. Okay? Did that answer your question? Okay. Travis, what about you?
All right. Hey, Dr. Stretch. Yeah, thank you so much for doing this. This has been great. So I am one of the people that's on the wait list. And I wanted to see if you guys knew when you would have those final decisions by, just so we can kind of organize work and life and all of that.
Yeah, the wait list is literally about a spot opening up. So it's about somebody else dropping out or deciding they can't come or deferring. And then we have the wait list ranked, and you get pulled up in the order that you were ranked. So it's like we're trying to get people, like we had somebody today who decided, okay, I can't do this in the fall. I want to come in the spring instead. Okay, that's fine. And here, but the person on the wait list, we pulled right up. So they're very quick. We get them as soon as the spot opens, we open it up. And truly, we would accept all of you if we could. We would. It is such a hard decision. We had over 300 applications for fall. It was insane trying to get through all of them for 54 slots. And so it was a very difficult decision. And we are doing the best we can with what we have. And we have to make sure that we stay within, we don't want our class sizes to get too large. We want it to be a really, intentional experience for you. So that's why we keep them kind of small. Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. Is there a last date that you would accept someone for the fall program, like a week before classes start?
The first day of class.
Okay, so right up until it. Okay.
Yes, you can. And when it gets to those last couple of days, I'm just going to use this as an example. Let's say Travis, Leonardo, and Amber are on the wait list, right? And those last couple of days, it's literally by your phone. Because if we call Travis and we can't reach Travis, we go to Leonardo. And if Leonardo answers and says yes, then that's who gets the spot. And if they don't answer, Amber, you're up next. So it's literally whoever answers first in those last few days. But we do try to stay within the rank, but we reach out and we give you about an hour and then we move on to the next person because we want a full class. We have 18 slots in each concentration.
Okay, got it. All right, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. All right, Leonardo.
Hi. Well, actually, I had a different question, but since we're talking about the waitlist, what happens after that? We would have to reapply for the next
Yes.
cycle.
Yeah, you would reapply for the spring. But I do want to point out, if you made the wait list, then you were a strong candidate. So please understand that, right? If you are on the wait list, you excelled above hundreds of other applications. So I want you to keep that in perspective, right? And also, if you want to reach out to me or come to me by my office hours, which is what I'll do if you reach out to me, I'll be like, hey, come see me in office hours. I can talk to you about some ways that maybe you can make your application stronger for next year, okay? So I do open that. I'm open to talking about that.
Great, thank you. So now to the quick
You're
question.
welcome.
I'm trying to understand the system of the mini master. So in this 7 weeks, do we take only one course?
Yes, technically you should only be taking one course. It's a 7.5-week course. Now, again, if you're not working full time, if you're only going to school, if you do really well in that first course, then you can add a second with your working it through with your faculty advisor to establish a new program of study. Okay, but we really encourage people to do it one class at a time because you're basically taking 15 weeks of class and cramming it into 7.5 weeks. It's intense. It's a lot of work. Like, I am amazed at our students at how well they do, but they just blow me away because it's a lot of work. You have to be super organized. And I do want to take 1 second out and introduce Dr. Martin. Dr. Martin, I saw that you joined us. Do you want to say hi?
Hi, everybody. Sorry, I literally just finished my other class, so I just wanted to pop in and say hello to everybody.
This is Dr. Martin. Amazing.
Hi, Dr. Martin.
All right. So, Leonardo, did you have any other questions? Good deal. All right, Amber, you're up next. Can't hear you. Sorry. Sometimes the headphones don't always work.
Let me just take that off. Can you hear me now?
Yes, now I can hear you.
Okay, great. Technology. So my question is that, so I'm a military spouse, and hopefully I will be able to do 2 of the years while we are still here in Virginia. But the 3rd year we might be moving overseas. And I know that that is the practicum internship. Will I be able to do that overseas? Or will I have to take a leave and then wait until we come back stateside?
It really depends on where you go, okay? And what KCREP says is that where you do your practicum and internship, the person that is your site supervisor must be on site with you, and they need to be licensed or certified at the highest level available in that particular country. Okay, now a lot of our military spouses find military spouses who are licensed, who are, who have, so as long as you're building into that community. Now, because I'm the military veterans counselor or advisor, I will tell you, I encourage you to get involved in the Military and Government Employee Association right off the bat, because that network is an important network. It's part of the ACA, the American Counseling Association.
I would be the commander's wife, the base commander's wife. So yes, I would be involved in everything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so this is a division within the American Counseling Association that it specializes in military and government employees. And if you get involved in that association, it's a great way to start getting connected and have those networks. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Thank you so much.
But we have placed people literally around the world.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Suzette. Oh, I don't think we can hear you either. Nope, can't hear you. You might need to try it without the headphones. See if you can turn them off.
I think he may have to unmute also.
No, he's not muted according to. We can come back to you if you want to switch your audio. If you go down to where it says audio, you can switch to a different audio band. I'll come back to you after Kirby. All right, Kirby, go ahead, and then we'll come back and see if we can get sound with you guys.
Okay, hi, thanks. I'm just wondering, when is the practicum one?
Practicum is
one. Residency, sorry.
Residency. So it is going to be with your techniques class. So if your group, that's probably going to be next summer, I would think. I don't have it right in front of me, but I'm assuming. Yeah, so it's a little ways away. We want you to get a few courses under your belt before you do that.
And so it's sort of like a conference style, like there's like different events every day.
That's a good way of thinking.
Okay.
Yeah, and you're in labs, and you're in small groups, and you're in large groups, and yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Long day. All right, Susan, you want to try again? Nope. Still don't have sound. You can type it in the chat. Why don't you type your question into the chat? I will look for it in just a second. All right. Lisa.
Hi again. So I was wondering, you said that we were in groups of 18, depending on our concentration, and if we would be able to exchange, or if they exchange phone numbers and emails so that we could kind of study together. And I'm very social, so yeah.
And we have a lot of students who set up WhatsApp links, they set up Facebook pages. And again, the program office is a really great place to connect with people. What I'm hoping to do we haven't had a chance to do it. I mean, it's just been time. I mean, just time. But I'm hoping to set up cohort groups in the program office, but that is on my to-do list. It's not happened yet, but that is definitely a goal. But you will definitely meet people within and during town halls and all of those things. We have a lot of great opportunities for socializing. Okay, all right.
Thank you.
So Caesar, if we can't hear you, you can type it into a chat. Or you might want to try to call back in, because sometimes you just have to call out and back in. Yep, technology is not always our friend. Okay, Tom, you want to try?
Hi, Dr. Stretch. I was just wondering if the wait list, if we could find out where we're at on the wait list. I'm going to be headed to Korea this Friday for 3 weeks, which classes would be starting at the end of that. And if I'm not high enough on the wait list, I might not watch my phone.
Yeah, exactly. I understand that. Yeah, it's such a fluid process that I don't want everybody contacting me to find out what their spot is. But considering your special circumstance, Tom, I will send you a note and I'll reach out to you in that way. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Other questions? While we're waiting for somebody else to have a question, Dr. Martin, since you joined us, why don't you share your words of wisdom for the group as they get started? Because you often teach the professional orientation class too, so you might have some tips and things to think about.
Yeah, so if you're starting in the fall, you probably will be with me in professional orientation. That's what I'm teaching first, right? As I agree with Dr. LA, my brain is a little burnt. We just came off of residency and I just finished teaching 2 webinars. So, but I would say my words of wisdom, especially as you start into the program, is just be open and be flexible One of the things I think that people don't realize when they come into counseling and a counseling program is that we really do stretch, you know, your thoughts, your feelings, your everything about your world will change after you've been in the program. And so that means being open to new experiences, being open to feedback. We do a lot of feedback in the program, and that's just how we grow. Just as professionals, we're still getting feedback. So I would say just, and then, you know, be open to having some fun for yourself. Wellness is primary. You have to be well. You can't survive this field without something that brings you some joy. So whatever that is, find it, enjoy it, do it, love it. But you know, don't just be a workaholic. We work hard, we play hard. So I think that is definitely something that has helped throughout the years.
Yeah, that's one thing I love about this faculty. We can laugh at ourselves very well, and we just actually genuinely enjoy each other and working with you all. So I hope that comes through. Caesar, you have audio? Nope. I don't know what's going on. So if you want to try to like log out and log back in, it might help. And I'll be here. Come back in. Okay. All right. Other questions or thoughts or fears or concerns? Leonardo, go ahead.
Thank you. This is probably way ahead, but I was wondering about the time commitment for the internship moment, the last stage. Is it possible to have a job and do the internship, or is that the moment when you have to start planning your life differently?
Yeah, I would say that the easier path in some ways is to not work, okay? And because then you can really put yourself into internship. What I see, and Dr. Martin, please feel free to jump in, is when students try to work full-time, manage a family, and go to internship full-time, they usually have a stress meltdown at some point, which is reasonable because it's a lot. You're learning so much, you're gaining so much information. I mean, your brain is working overtime, right? And it's just exhausting to do clinical work. I mean, it's wonderful and it's amazing, but it's also exhausting, especially when you're in the learning phase. Now, that's not possible. I had to work while I was in my clinical work. I did not have, you know, the ability to not work. I had a mortgage, I had a family, I had to work, you know, but I also was able to structure my work days so that I was able, because at the time I was very fortunate. I worked for the Girl Scouts. So there was a lot of weekend work. So I would work the weekends and I would work 2 or 3 days during the week. And then I would be able to put the rest of my time towards my clinical practice. So if you had a flexible situation where you could really build your work around your internship, because most internships, because the site supervisor needs to be on site with you, will be during the day. And so that's just something to think about. You know, now I can't stress enough the importance of connecting with networks now. I got connected to the community service board and did volunteer work my first 1.5 years through my program. And when I came to need my first practicum site, I literally mentioned it in a meeting at the community service board that, hey, you know, I'm about to start my field work. You know, if anybody knows it, I had 3 placements at the end of the meeting. Right. And the reason being, because I didn't wait until my practicum to build those relationships. They already knew the quality of my work. I'd already been involved. I was very engaged in the community. I already knew people. Right. And I can't stress that enough. Do not wait to call people when you're looking for your practicum site. You know, start to build those relationships sooner than later. Volunteer, get out there, you know, get involved. Dr. Martin is nodding her head, so I know.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Caesar, you want to try again? I can't hear you. Sorry. Nope. Don't keep trying. I believe it's Janice. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, it's Janice. Hello, good evening. My question is, I will be starting in the fall, and I chose this program because I was interested in also obtaining my LPC. So my question is, how would that, how would those hours work in the program, or do you do those hours separate? I wasn't quite clear on how that would work, so I thought I would ask it now.
Okay, good. So the answer is a little complicated, and it's the state of our licensure in the country, okay? If you are in Virginia, if you live and work within the Commonwealth of Virginia, you will be able to apply for an LPC with your school counseling degree, okay? If you are outside of the Commonwealth of Virginia, it's a case-by-case basis. And we will have to look at that on a case-by-case basis, because when this program was created, it was created with guidance from the Board of Counseling in Virginia so that school counselors could do that. Now, if you are a school counselor in North Carolina and you go to this program, you could always apply to be an LPC here in Virginia. There's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to live in Virginia to get an LPC in Virginia, right? And then you hold that for 5 years and you can transfer it to North Carolina. I just did that, North Carolina to Virginia. So, you know, I was able to apply for what's called endorsement because I had already had a license in North Carolina for 5 years. I got a very expedited, as expedited as could be in the pandemic, license in Virginia. Right. So it's each state by state, but this is one of my areas of specialty is licensure law. This is something I love. I really get excited about it. It's kind of this weird hobby of mine. So that's something I'm happy to support students in. So if you are in a different state than Virginia, no, I have no problem tearing the law apart and figuring out. We've had other students, like students in Florida and stuff, who've just taken a couple of extra classes while they're with us, and then they've been able to apply too. So state by state, unfortunately, we don't have a national endorsement yet. We are working on the national compact, but it's not fully in place yet.
And I'm Virginia. I'm in Virginia.
That makes it easy. If you're in Virginia, it's easy. Get it. I don't know why anybody wouldn't just go ahead and get both, because I mean, it just makes sense if you're in school counseling. All right, Kathy.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Oh, Dr. LA, Caesar was able to put his question in the chat.
Oh, okay. I'll check on that after I. Catherine, you can go, and then I'll read the ones in the chat.
Hi. I was wondering if I already work in a high school in the school counseling office as the admin assistant. And I was wondering if once we get to practicum or internship, are you able to get hours in a school you already work, or does it need to be a school that you're not at?
Okay, it depends on your district, because some districts require that we send in all of the interns that want to work that term to the district, and the district assigns them. Some districts approve them and then they send them to schools. Some you have to have a pre-existing relationship, and the school counselor sends in a request for you as an intern. So it really depends on each district's policies and procedures for placing interns. So that would depend on your district.
Thanks.
Okay. Now, I will say this about KCREP standards. You cannot be supervised by your employing supervisor. So you can't continue supervision with somebody who's already supervising you, and you cannot continue to do any role that you were doing prior to practicum and internship starting. What you do has to be what's called a qualitatively new experience, so that it's actually expanding your knowledge and not something that's just continuing to validate what you're already doing. Okay.
Right. Okay, thanks.
Dr. Martin, yeah, you're welcome, Catherine. Do you want to read the question or speaking?
Yeah, sure. So Caesar asked that he works as a substance abuse QMHP counselor in Virginia Beach, and he wants to know if he can use that for practicum or internship.
I think I kind of sort of answered that. See, you can if you have a new supervisor and a new population and it's master's level work. If it's work that can be done by a bachelor's level person, then they will not approve it for internship or practicum. It has to be at the master's level or higher in order for it to be approved. So it has to be a qualitatively new experience with a new supervisor and a new population, and it has to be master's level.
And I'm going to grab, if you don't mind,
yes,
this.
Students have done it. Sorry, Jessica, go ahead.
No problem. I was going to grab another question that I saw before.
Okay.
So Kirby asked about LMFT licensure. So we just wanted to add to that. The LMFT, depending on the state, also has some very specific things, especially when it comes to field work. So you have to have what we call relational hours. And that's very specific, like working with a family or working with a couple or working with an individual on family or couple issues. So that's a little more nuanced depending on the state. So that if that's something you're interested in, also it might, depending on the state, require other courses.
Right. And we do not offer the courses that are required for LMFT in Virginia through the online program. We do have an LMFT program on ground, but we do not let students, we do not have any crossover because of course caps and because of KCREP standards. The students who are enrolled in online stay online. The students who are enrolled on ground have to stay on ground. There's no crossover. You can't take classes as an online student on ground, and on ground students can't come into our classes because we have to keep these course caps. It's a scheduling nightmare. It's a big part of my job. And so trying to make sure that we stay within these faculty to student ratios and making sure that you're getting the quality experience you need, okay? All right, Megan, I think you were up next.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Perfect. So my question is a little bit unique. So when you were talking about waitlist and being contacted if we are selected, my building that I work in is secure, so I can't have my cell phone in there at all. Can I provide you guys with a desk phone so I can be contacted by chance?
Say that again. Say that you broke out for me for a second.
Sorry. So the building that I work in is a secure building, so I'm not allowed to have my cell phone in my building. Am I able to provide you guys with a desk phone so I can be contacted if I'm selected from the wait list?
Yep, you sure can. So what I would do is, have you had contact with Ramsey?
Yes.
I would reach out to Ramsey and I would provide him with that alternate number. Ramsey's been out on vacation, but he'll due back tomorrow. So okay. Ramsey is your point of contact for that, for sure.
Okay, thank you so much.
Great question. Yeah, thanks. Christina?
Hello.
Caesar, I'll circle back to that.
So this is another waitlist question. So if we are waitlisted and we don't get off the waitlist for the fall term, we are able to apply as soon as for the spring term?
Yes.
And do we have to submit a whole new application, or is there, you know, like a reapplicant type of thing where you
I know that we have requested that some parts of it, like your transcripts and your letters of recommendation, be transferred from the previous application. Okay. Ramsey honestly would be the best person for that, but I do know that we haven't made people do everything all over. I would say if you were waitlisted, usually, and Dr. Martin, you jump in on this too, because you help me, you do a lot of admissions, but I think that the essay is probably what holds people back. Let me just give you all some tips about writing for essays real quick. One, have somebody else read it who will be honest with you, okay? Not your friend who's gonna be like, oh, it's wonderful, they'd be foolish to not take you. You need somebody who's gonna shred it, like your 12th grade English teacher, something like that. That's the person that you need to have read your essay. Your essay needs to tell us why the program that you're applying to is the one for you. Okay, so if you're applying to CMHC, it's not enough to say, oh, I've always wanted to be a counselor my whole life. That will not work, okay? But talking about social justice and how you're going to serve your community and what you plan to do with that CMHC. And we're not just being kind of mean about this. What we're doing is trying to fulfill a KCREP standard. KCREP requires that we demonstrate that all applicants were evaluated for the match to the program to which they were accepted. Okay, so we have to justify to our accreditation board that you were a good match for this program. And if you don't make it through this program, we have to explain to them why. Okay, so we have some accountability for ourselves too. So give us a good plea, a good reason to want to admit you. The second thing I will say is that diversity is insanely important to us. Diversity comes in many flavors and many ways. How are you contributing diversity to this program in a way that somebody else might not be? What are you going to bring to the class discussion that nobody else will? What perspective are you going to offer that's going to make your other peers go, huh, hadn't thought about it that way? That's what we're looking for. We're looking for a well-rounded cohort that's going to learn from each other and not just from us. Dr. Martin, anything else you would add to that?
I think those were all spot on, and I agree. I think getting someone to proofread your essay is huge. There are so many spelling mistakes, grammar mistakes. And then I would agree too, like, why William and Mary? There are lots and lots of programs in counseling that you can go to. We want to know why you picked us. What is so unique about our program that you said, I have to be there? And just like Dr. Ellie
oh my
said,
gosh, we've gotten essays that had other school names in them.
Oh no.
Don't do that.
Well, and I guess
if you made the wait list, it means that there was something we saw, but I would tweak that essay. I think everything else is probably the same.
Well, and I guess one other question. So for us who are on the wait list, got accepted into another program for the fall, William and Mary is our first choice. And if we could get into this in the spring, we'd want to go, but that's obviously not a guarantee. And we don't want to, pause our life if we enrolled in the other program and, reapplied for the spring and wanted to leave that program and come to William and Mary. Is that something that would like turn you guys off? Would it look bad on our, application, or is that okay?
I don't think that would look bad. You wouldn't be able to do it past the first semester because we only take 12 credits at the most, and that's not even a guarantee. Now, I will say if it is a K-CREP accredited program and it's the same type of program, chances are the classes will probably transfer, but I can't guarantee it until I look at the course because we have to match 85% of the learning objectives between the course you're trying to transfer and the course you're trying to replace. So you probably wouldn't be able to do it past one semester, maybe two if you're only taking one class every midterm, mini term. But 12 is the max that we can take. That wouldn't be a red flag to me. When it's a red flag is when people apply and don't explain to us why they want to leave the program or why they want remarried. When we can see when you've been in another program, usually it comes out in some way that you've been in another program. And when there's no explanation as to why you're leaving the program, that's a red flag for us. So that would be the only thing I would say, Christina, is explain, like, William and Mary's the one I really want, and I'm trying again, but I'm in this other program, and, that type of thing.
Yep. All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Catherine, did you have another question, or is your hand still up? Okay. I can, Caesar, did you have another one? Not, okay, you do? I can't hear you, but if you put it in the message, whoa, total cost. All right, that one I cannot answer. We are not allowed to talk about finances. You would need to talk to the financial aid in the tuition and the bursar's office about that, because we might tell you wrong. They don't want us to tell you wrong. Unfortunately, I don't know about Dr. Martin, but I stay as far away from the financial piece as I can because I have more than enough on my job description already. So I stay quite busy. All right. Any other questions in the chat, Dr. Martin, did you see?
I think we covered everything.
All right. Others? Any other questions? All right. Just to finish this up, I'm going to give a couple of specific things about concentrations to think about. And I'll let Dr. Martin, she's a CMHC lead, so I'll let her speak to CMHC. But for school counseling, if you do not already have experience with youth and in the public schools, volunteer. I can't stress that enough. You need to volunteer in the public school. For MVC, if you are not a military person or a spouse of a military person or have direct connections with the military, you need to find a way to volunteer with the military. You need to get connected with the community that you plan to serve. All right. As a military spouse, I can assure you, you don't know military until you know military. Right. So you need to understand the culture, and we can teach you all day long. So there's nothing like experiencing it. All right. And we will have volunteer resources available to you, but you also need to do the work. We don't know everything about your community, but we do want you to get connected with the community you plan to serve. Dr. Martin, I don't know if you want to add for CMHC.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good point to get out and engage with your community. There are so many ways that you can engage with community mental health that isn't just counseling. And especially as you go through the program, you want to lean on those experiences that helps you to also make those connections for practicum and internship. Dr. Stretch know that earlier, but I emphasize that again and again and again. It's only getting harder to find sites, but when you have a personal connection, you go right in the door. So I would really encourage that, and get involved with some type of counseling organization, whether it's American Counseling Association, the American Clinical Mental Health Association, your state association. If you Google counseling association, there's tons. There's one for different areas, different states, different everywhere.
Yeah. The Association for Creativity and Counseling that I'm the president-elect for. No, that was a shameless little plug. I'm also a leader with AMCD, the Association for Multicultural Counseling Development. I mean, there's lots of us are leaders in a lot of the divisions. And so if there's something of interest to you, one of us, somebody on the faculty has a connection. I'm a leader in CSJ, the Counselors for Social Justice. Like, we all have connections to different groups and associations. So if you have an interest, there's a faculty member here to support you in that. If we don't do it, we know somebody who does. Eric?
Hi, can you hear me okay? Sorry.
Yes, we can.
So I live in upstate New York, and we have a large veteran VA here. But my understanding was that they don't actually employ or give internships to mental health counselors, only social work and PhDs. Is that something that
is changing? Yeah, okay. The law has changed. The law has been changed for a long time. And actually, there was, when Biden came into office, they issued another executive order saying they had to equalize the hiring for that. And we actually have a wonderful faculty member, Dr. Elizabeth Burgeon, who is reaching out to all of the VAs that our students are near, and she is negotiating memorandums of understanding. We accomplished 2 of them last year, and so we'll get you on the radar with her and where you are so that she can start that work. So that's something we're actively working on. And the VAs, I mean, when they hear William and Mary, they're like, yep, we love you, bring it in, because we have such an incredible reputation worldwide, but definitely within the nation. And so it's, our program's really highly respected.
That's great. It's great to hear. I was thinking about volunteering, and that's the only organization in my area I know that works directly with veterans. So I will definitely give them a shout out. Thank you.
You're welcome. And we have other organizations that you can volunteer with too that will identify, like Home Run, and there's a few others. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, there are lots of organizations that work with veterans. Even if you look like Wounded Warrior Project, there's lots of places. So don't just stop at the VA.
Yeah. So
Great.
many opportunities.
Thank you.
Great. All right. Anybody else have a question before we close out for tonight? All right. Well, I just want to thank everybody for being here, especially Dr. Martin for coming in after she had taught 2 webinars. We so appreciate you. And thank you for being here. Reach out if you need anything. My email, I will put in the chat in case anybody needs it, but don't please all flood me. If you have a question that's specific, I'm happy to answer it. And so let me put that in there. And then on Mondays and Wednesdays from 4 to 6, except for next week, I have office hours. So from 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern, I have office hours. It's in Zoom, and it's the same as my phone number. So I'm going to put that in the chat too. And you are welcome to drop by my office hours and ask questions or whatnot. I will not have office hours next Monday. I will have them on Wednesday. Next Monday, I'm running a K-CREP accreditation site visit. So I won't have them on Monday, but I will be back on schedule starting on Wednesday. If anybody wants to drop by and ask a question or wonder about something, so happy to support you. We can't wait to have you here. And if you don't get in for fall, we do hope to see you in the spring. Please let us know how we can best support you. Have a wonderful evening, morning, or afternoon, wherever you are.